program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Well, good evening everyone, and this is your one and only dear Paul speaking. Of course, this is EasyFilipino once again, your one-stop go-to for learning Filipino words, phrases across the abroad and here also in the country. Well, it's 8 September 2020. Assalamualaikum to all of our dear Muslims. 20th Muharram 1442 in the Hijra calendar. And yes, of course, here are some reminders that we should take seriously, that this program is protected by the copyright, and of course any sort of reproduction or distribution is strictly prohibited. And of course, we're going to learn more of the most commonly used Filipino words, phrases, and local language variants. Of course, some of you might be asking that any sort of transactional related discussions will be aired here. And yes, of course, we have a section called Alamin Natin, that we could discuss more of the Filipino culture here in the Philippines. Of course, next program at 20:00 hours 8 p.m. is the BetterTogether live from PICC AM session. Going back, we're going to have some sort of discussion with regards to the transactional queries or anything that requires you to ask for a fare or price of a product, in which I could discuss it here. And let's say, magkano po? How much? This is the very important question that we need to use, especially if we're going to ask for a price. And yes, of course, it tells with a numerical and the unit of currency as the equivalent peso. And of course, we're going to have some sort of counting things here from 1 to 10 in Filipino, in different dialects. For Tagalog here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And for the Cebuanos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's see, what could it be the equivalent of 10 in Cebuano? And it says here, napulo or pulo. And yes, of course, dialects could be varying depending on the location of your residence. Say for example, here in Bulacan, NCR, most of Calabarzon and Mimaropa are using the Tagalog language. Of course, people in the Bicol region, including Masbate Island, Catanduanes Island, uses the Bicolano language. People in Pampanga uses the Kapampangan as well. People in northern Luzon uses the Ilocano language as well. For those who are in Western Visayas, they are using Ilonggo or Hiligaynon. Central Visayas and most parts of mainland Mindanao except the ARMM uses the Cebuano or Bisaya. People in the eastern parts of Visayas would use the Waray. So you have to know the difference of those dialects. The one that I have told you is that we're learning some sort of Filipino languages, particularly Tagalog and Cebuano. Say for example, if you're asking within NCR, magkano po? And they would say a particular amount. Say, 250 piso, which is equivalent to 250 pesos. But for the Cebuano's perspective, if they would say 250 pesos in Cebuano, could it be more like of duha ka kalim-an piso? Once again, duha ka kalim-an piso. Which is in the native Cebuano language as well. Of course, let's no more of this. Alamin natin. Yes, alright. We have to know more of the Bayanihan spirit in which people are helping one another in times of need, especially during this COVID pandemic disaster that we're bearing through in the form of the donations or giveaways or anything that has a value to those in need. And that wraps it up, the Easy Filipino. Don't forget that we will be back at October 2020. Easy Filipino will be preempted due to some sort of schedule changes that we might be encountering here, and I'm not 100% sure if this would be supported by our Filipino instructors across the country. Should they would guess here, then it would be back right away. And of course, as a Filipino, we are always used to the celebrating the National Language Month, buwan ng wikang pambansa, every August. But then, due to the pandemic disaster in which the theme of the National Language Month, buwan ng wikang pambansa, is more like of while I'm opening the news site Summit Express, wika ng kasaysayan ng wika, language of the history of the language. The sub-theme, ang mga katutubong wika, or the native languages sa mga Filipinong bayanihan, or on, I have loss of translation here. I'm going to read this one more time. Ang mga katutubong wika sa mga Filipinong bayanihan kontra pandemya, or our native language in Filipino, bayanihan. Oh my goodness me, I have loss of translation here. Let me translate something here. From Filipino to English. Say bayanihan or cooperative endeavor. Let me try once again. Ang mga katutubong wika sa mga Filipinong bayanihan kontra pandemya, or our native languages on Filipino cooperative endeavor against pandemic. Of course, RA 7104 P Presidential Proclamation 1041 rather, and of course, active participation and governmental agencies, private sector encouragement. Of course, as far as I know, there is a need to reach it out to foreign nationals with regards to the Filipino languages here in the Philippines, and due to some lack of support here to DP24 GTV and even lack of audiences interest, unfortunately, EasyFilipino has to postpone until October 2020. Hopefully, this would be back at the soonest time as possible, as long as there would be no schedule conflicts here. Maybe it would be more like of pre-recorded episode via Zoom with the presentation on it, and hopefully all learners here, whether you're Filipino or foreign national, would learn more of our language here so as to better understand our way of communicating one another. And see you on October for the Easy Filipino. Maybe if you're interested, kindly watch Mapping 101 Thursdays every Thursday at the same time as this program. DP24 in Focus live session every Friday, 2000 hours. DP24 on Reflections here on YouTube only every Saturday, 2100 hours. And here's the good news. DP24 is trying to restore some sort of replay edition of the previous podcast episode of DP24 in Focus live session, albeit on the backdated form. And of course, don't forget to support DP24 Radio on Spotify, iTunes, and now available on TuneIn Radio and most podcast platforms. Thank you very much for watching Easy Filipino Live, though I'm sad to, let this program suspend or postpone for a while. And here's one message for all of us. Be safe, be well, stay sane, and as always, you are loved.